Hi, everyone, and welcome to the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto without Greg Hanna today. And I'm with celebrity Kirk Fox. Kirk, thanks for stopping by, man. I just laugh at some of your parts you played in different shows, and I can't believe you're an author. Think
I
about
know
some
that
of your
that's
characters,
hard to
Kirk.
believe.
Yeah,
It's
think
hard to
about
believe. I
some.
can't believe I'm a celebrity.
Yeah,
You introduced me as a
yeah,
celebrity.
you are a celebrity, Kirk. Yes,
I
you
got
are.
to reset my blur behind me.
So what I was saying to you is, I mean, think about it. All the movies and TV shows you've been on. Why write a book? I mean, what made you become an author? That's an interesting
Well,
change.
Neil, I've always been writing. It's always been a part of me. Every morning I'm scribbling, whether I'm writing jokes or just getting a feel for the world. And I just figured it was time. I had started a lot of books in my life, but I hadn't finished one. So I thought it was time. I thought it was time to finish one.
So you did you ever write any TV shows or movies and like been a writer?
I've written some movies. I've written some screenplays. What was great about Palmdale is I was on a TV show a few years ago called Jury Duty, and we had a lot of free time. I was in a jury box, and it was all a fake trial, so I had 10 hours a day watching a fake trial. So while I was in that jury box, I said I better do something. So I started this book while I was on that TV show, and I just kept writing it. It wrote itself, really. It's just me if I was a PI.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you create the dynamic between a private eye and his daughter? Where did that
Well,
mind to you? Mhm.
I have an 8 year old daughter currently, and I just kind of imagined what it would be like if I just walked away from her and her mother, and then ran into her 15 years later. And then we're both private investigators. So it was just this book's kind of about family. It's about love, and I dropped some murders in there and some fun characters.
What do you think was the most challenging part of writing this thriller?
I think the hardest part for me was uh, toning down the comedy. Everything I ever do ends in a laugh or a joke. So in this, I had to find a way to ground it a little more. So I think what I had to do in this is take out some of the goof and just keep it more of a grounded story. And
Some of your editors shut you down, right? In your first draft.
no, I shut myself down. I kind of was pretty set on what I wanted this to be. And I did a lot of the editing myself. And by the time it got to them, they were happy with the ballpark.
I got it. I got it. And you're definitely comedy in so many ways. Did you try to throw some comedy into the book?
Oh,
In the,
there's a lot of comedy in there, but I mask it. It's not just jokey. So you'll the laughs are in there, but they're mixed in with some pretty dark lanes.
did you?
It's
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, did you think writing a book like this, is it going to be a series or a movie? Did you ever have that thought process writing it?
Neil, that's all I think about. So of course I'd like it to be a movie or a TV series. I think that's all I think about. So as I was writing it, I saw it visually. That's why it was I wrote it as a movie.
I got it. Are you in LA or where do you live, Kirk?
I think I'm in LA. I live in Los Angeles, and I grew up in San Diego. I have a wife and daughter, I think, and
I think.
I'm trying
Well,
not to
yeah.
wake. I'm
So
trying not to wake them.
I'm going to be out in LA for a film festival. I'm going to be on a panel out in LA in September. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, yeah. So I'm glad 'cause the last time I was in LA is 14 years ago. I do all my show from basically a studio and never leave. I do
Well,
all my
Neil,
my
when you're
agency.
out,
I do all the different things. Everything is always. here, so I'm looking
Well,
forward to travel.
when you're out here, you can hit me up and come to the Comedy Store, and
I am
I'll do
definitely,
some jokes.
and I'm 6'10", so you'll have some good jokes on me. So you're,
I'm 6'5".
oh, you, okay. I didn't know
Yeah,
that. Really? Okay. I
yeah. You
remember the
say
main,
that you
yeah,
say
good.
6'5" like it's nothing.
That's 6'10" to
Yeah.
6'5". Come on, those 6'5" guys were the small forwards on my team. We had a team,
Wow.
our high school team. I was the center. I was only 6'9" then, not 6'10". Then it was 6'5", 6'6". So when I look at 6'5", I'm like, 6'5". But I probably shrunk, and you probably have shrunk in your age.
Oh, I shrank the day I got married. I watched it.
So what do you think you're most so because I know everyone needs to check out the book. You're so creative in your characters that have been so memorable for guest starring. Who do you think you're most known for in your career?
Well, I get Sewage Joe a lot on Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
I get Blade on Community a ton,
I think
but
Blade. I think Blade more, man.
yeah, I get Blade a lot. But now I'm getting a lot of Kenny Boy from Reservation Dogs,
See,
which
I've never
was
seen Reservation Dogs. I
well,
gotta
get
watch.
it together, Neil.
I stream. All I do is binge watch stuff while I'm working on all my stuff and trying to learn AI more. My
Okay.
agency. So I'm basically I'll be building the website or doing social media or coming up with a plan, and all I do is stream. And so I've watched so many shows, but I have not watched that show.
Well,
And so
Reservation
and
Dogs,
see,
you can stream it, man.
yeah.
Don't be
Do you know
afraid.
that Community and Parks and Rec I never saw till this year? So that's why I'm remember
Wow.
you're so familiar. It's like, oh, you were on just now, and especially I think of you more definitely in Community. That character is hilarious.
Well,
Yeah,
Blade in Community, Neil, is basically, Joe in this book.
really.
So yeah, there's a little bit of Blade in Joe for sure. But there's a little bit of Kirk Fox in Blade. I think every character I ever play is just me in that situation. I'd love to work at a carnival.
Well, I was a former professional wrestler, so I did work in a carnival, and I learned the whole carnival act and the whole thing. And I think I live that life still in a way because you have to. And especially with
Yeah,
creators now and what kind of money they can make, it's ridiculous. Just going on social media. I have one of my clients that's about to monetize. It's a top hockey podcast. And I'm like, that's what they're paying now? I'm like, I was doing the wrong thing podcasting. It's all about the content, it's all about the
yeah,
social media and monetization and virality. People watch 2-minute clips now. They don't watch
I
anything else.
know. And even that too's a little long.
So you got no, sometimes going longer, whatever,
Yeah.
this thing. So I have to check that out. So I did not check it out yet. It's on my list.
And
Busy.
I'm doing a new show called The Lowdown with Ethan Hawke. And you're gonna like that character also. It's basically Blade if he became a public defender.
So when is that coming out?
Well, this is we're shooting the second season right now.
Okay.
It's on FX and Hulu. Sterlin
Oh,
Harjo created it, but
really? Okay. Okay.
it's Ethan Hawke and
But
Tommy
you're
Lee
you're in the
Jones.
second season. I
I'm in the
see.
second season.
Okay. All
Tommy
right.
Lee Jones plays his dad.
All right. So what do you go on these sets and say I'm an author now? They probably laugh at you. Like, no, Kirk, you're not.
I mean, they don't do a lot of laughing. They read the book and they say, "Hey, that's good." Everyone that reads it likes it, and they certainly see that this lead character is me.
Yeah. So have you written the screenplay yet for this?
We're working on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm deciding if I want it to be a TV series or a movie.
Why is no one want movies anymore? They want TV series.
I don't know what anybody wants. You'd have to ask them. I'll just do whatever they tell me to do. If they're going to pay me, I'll stand there and do it.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So
I'm a tennis pro at heart, Neil.
I love it.
I think that's what I did for 15 years. That's where this story came from. This is
Really.
all stuff I hear on the tennis court.
Oh
in
my
Bel
gosh.
Air.
All
So
right. Yeah. So here's the big thing. Other things to promote, Kirk, before I ask that final question that my co-host Greg Hanna asks everybody. But tell me what, basically the latest things, your book, that series you talked about, any other things? You said you're at the comedy store all the time. You said,
I'm at the Comedy Store a few nights a week. Palmdale, you can buy anywhere. I'm shooting the Lowdown with Ethan Hawke. I have a special called That Guy that I just put on YouTube the other day. You can watch some stand-up comedy. I'm just trying to live, man. I'm just living.
you're funny. You just got to keep creating content all over the place while doing the book and while doing all those things because that's the biggest thing. Funny, people remember, you start going out and then it just goes viral.
Yeah,
So,
I'm on Bad Thoughts right now with Tom Segura. That's a great show you would like.
oh yeah. See, you're giving me
Someone
a
six,
good
someone six,
choices.
someone 6'10" would really like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I appreciate it, Kirk. I know we got jumps. Here's the question. What is the
Okay.
most important thing in life you've ever learned, Kirk?
Lead with kindness, man. Just lead with kindness, love. Trust you're enough. Hug them with your words. Leave a room better for having visited, Neil.
Appreciate it, Kirk.
All
That
right.
was a special simulcast Neil Haley show and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto. Greg Hanna. We're back to the Neil Haley show, and my guest today is actor, director, many different hats she wears. Bretton Tyner-Bryan. Bretton, thanks for stopping by. How are you?
I'm doing well, Neil. How are you? Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Talk about, you've done a lot of things in your career. What came first? Writing, directing, act. You do so many different things.
That's such an amazing question. I mean, I think it's totally from getting dressed up, playing make believe, and sort of incorporating all those worlds together. So I think it's just building a world as a child that had all those pieces in it, that had acting and writing in a sense and directing. But originally, I'm a ballet dancer, and I grew up in the ballet world, and I was a photographer from a young age. So I think those two mediums definitely are the origin of the love affair, but also shaped where I am today.
So from ballet to acting, how did that go? Like, how was that transition?
I mean, I grew up in a time when you had I was exposed to three-act ballets that were all narrative from like a really young age. And I grew up my dad was taking me to a lot of theater. So we were all sort of expected to act as well as dance in those child roles that were available in those ballets. But I was also kind of acting up in ballet school. I would do anything to like get a laugh. And in ballet school at that time, like there's no talking. You're just sort of you're following along and showing what's been showed to you back physically. So I would kind of like do anything for a laugh and would often impersonate my teachers behind their backs and have a grand old time. So there was a theatrical element to it, but I was also very serious about it at times. But I mean, dancers are hilarious. At their best, they're hilarious. They're total physical impersonators.
So then you said, I got to act then, right from there.
Yeah, there was a moment where I was like, I want to use my voice. I want to push myself in that way. I sort of would do impersonations, and impressions and voices, and that was always kind of in the mix, just I would say like socially and entertaining friends and making people laugh. And then I wanted to kind of step into that to own that, I think. And that's also developed into writing as well. Like you're owning the voice of yourself, but really how you see all these other characters and how you bring them to life. And that process, I kind of had to hide a little bit. I was a dancer at the time in terms of who I was auditioning for, and the casting directors that got to know me. And then sort of later on, I could kind of say like, hey, I actually also do this.
So you did that, and then you said when you learned from acting, I'm sure that you said then that you performed so many different things. What made you want to be behind the camera
I
or behind the
Yeah,
production? Yeah.
totally. I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I'm a chameleon in many ways, but I'm also a very particular, specific energy. I'm 5'10", I'm athletic. I look the way I look. I don't look like a lot of people. I'm definitely a hybrid. And so there is a certain number of roles I can play or that I can play well, even if I am that chameleon in many ways. And for me, getting to play with all those characters, all those energies, I love that. I honor that. Really enjoy getting to work with actors because they're bringing their life's experience to everything they do and say in a way that I could never necessarily replicate. Maybe I could impersonate it, but to me, that's like such a gift. So it's just like a myriad of flavors and colors and lifetimes that you're lucky enough to get to play with and create for and write for. And I love that that's infinite beyond, my frame, my capabilities, my desires. I've been a performer my whole life. While it is relaxing in many ways, it's also very for me, it's a one note of self-involvement, and I very much enjoy the maximalist approach of working with lots of other people's energies and identities and life experiences.
Interesting. So then kind of, is this in a way of doing all of it something new for you with rhythm or smooth? Is it kind of like this is something, or you've done something before like this?
That's a
Where
great question. I think we built I've for sure built to this scale at this moment in my life. In my career, there's scenes in the film where we have like 100 people. That was like a wonderful, exciting experience and challenge too. But I also was very aware that I felt very comfortable in those moments. I feel very comfortable on set when all eyes are on me and I'm running the room. But that comes from like having a dance company, where maybe we started with 3 people and then we got to 12 and that would tour. And I made productions specifically for those very like original and unique dancers and performers. That was in New York and San Francisco. I also would create productions that had like 7 to 10 people in them. So I think it was going there, and it also came about of just like giving that creative freedom to myself and to other people, and I really enjoyed that. Or letting people perform or dance in a different way or with different people than they'd had the opportunity to before. Um, that was exciting at the time for sure. So I think it's definitely like we've been preparing for it. But I also think the pieces that I've been, I was dancing in the corps in ballet companies in high school, and so I'm in like these environments with lots and lots of people. There, like huge crew. You have like, huge audience all the way to the balcony. You have corps de ballet that might be, 40 people on stage. You have symphony. So I was sort of already like accustomed to how you organize the volume of those energies and bodies.
So you're already in a way a director, even though this is interesting of you being a director of your own, of something you wrote yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if you asked my like kindergarten teachers to profile me, they would probably say I was like conducting things in the
You know, and I
classroom.
always ask
So,
people that have, I know you've been a producer before, like looking at producer and director, what's the difference? A lot of people don't get that. They kind of where they think they're almost the same, but they're not. They're similar in certain ways. Kind of define the difference, between those two.
sure. I mean, like, I think if you're going to be good at either one, it's good to know both sides. Creative and capital go hand in hand, but you're organizing different elements, I think, of production, whether you're organizing energies and creative or you're organizing systems that let that creative run. I mean, more and more I produce. There's a lot of people I speak with who are like showrunners, writers originally that they produce to get the project done because they can see the pieces and the way to kind of move it. That being said, my passion obviously lies with writing and directing. And I think I mean, I have a lot of friends that I think are really good at. They also have math brains, and I appreciate that so much. And they really, really enjoy crunching those numbers and reallocating resources, and that works for them. I have no desire to sit ever. So for me, like some producers are on their feet, some producers are on a laptop. For me, I'm much happier on my feet with my actors. And it's funny, like when we're in post, I'm like aware of how much I miss them terribly. And even when I'm writing, if I'm not going to get to see them in the next 6 months, it's hard for me too. So I think that's the compass for me is that I enjoy the possibility of creating something beyond the structure, I think. And I think producers are, the best ones are just providing the utmost structure to deliver that creativity.
And because this is dance, you felt that even though you wrote this is perfect for you to direct because of your experience in dance. Would you agree?
Yes, I hadn't thought about that. I wasn't going to do a dance film and I wasn't going to do something in New York, and then here we are.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I think
You said just you're in LA in your mind, so go ahead. We'll go with that.
yes, yes. I mean, what does that say about what does that say about avoiding oneself or circling all the way back round to arrive at who you are in New York City? Um, yes, I think I'm well prepped to have created this really amazing sort of monster of an ensemble cast and production that has so many elements, and I think. Yeah, the opportunities that come to you are often like what's aligned for you and what's designed. But I also think it's a full circle moment because, like I said, when I was auditioning as an actor, it's not so much the case now, but at that time, I really had to kind of like hide the dancer piece because sometimes there's sort of judgment on whether you can or cannot act, and so I think it's like anything. All the things you've experienced are always there. It's just like when you're ready to kind of be who you are
Yeah.
and pull those like pieces all together. And I think the more experiences you have, the richer what you have to offer as a director or anything in life is. So yeah, here we are.
I got it. I got it. So
Yeah.
let's talk about it. Now, you wrote this, so this is your brainchild. So how did you come up with it?
It's definitely inspired by all of the wild characters in New York City, many of whom I've come in contact with, but I wanted it to have like an intergenerational sort of lens so that everybody who watches it can see themselves in it, whether it's who they were, who they'll become, who they might aspire to be. Because to me, that's my life experience. That's what I relish about my relationships is the different vantage points based on age, generation, and I think we really need that right now. And that's also just what I see happening in New York. Everybody's here, regardless of age. They're still like in the same ecosystem, even if they're having a different experience. So there's that at play. And then it's sort of just like a comedic expose of like the intensity of appetite and drive
Mm.
in New York City and how that level of exaggeration I find to be like closer to the truth. And I really appreciate that. New Yorkers will really show up for one another and they will also like lose it on you in a split second. So there's sort of like there's no fat. It's right to the point, whatever that is, whether it's generosity or an antagonistic behavior or camaraderie support. So there's like everything is intense basically. And I sometimes that's a lot, but other times I really I appreciate it because there's sort of like a no attitude about how they exist. And that can be really funny and ridiculous sometimes, but it's also like they're being exactly who they are. So I honor that. And comedy's always like pretty close to the bone. It's not usually that far from it. So
I got it. And did the movie take place in the storyline present time?
yes, it's
Okay.
present day New York City,
Mhm.
and I think what, differentiates it is like the different locations we shot in and how they're really paramount to the like different emotional ecosystems based on color, based on time that we exist in. And again, they're like supremely New York environments that I'm so lucky to have access to here.
Right.
I can know about them. I can build the relationships to sort of bring those into the fold because I live here. And so I'm like acutely aware that I
Yeah.
could not have made this film at another time in my life. And I have gratitude for that. But also, like, I couldn't have made it if I hadn't lived here, or been here like over a decade. There's sort of like a currency, a fluency, a speed. And, the price of living here emotionally is high. So I think,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, there's celebration in that sort of like a culmination of the past decade.
The competitiveness of New York, the nonstop, it doesn't stop, never sleep New York.
So like,
All those things come into play, don't they?
yeah, yeah, it's like it's just full on for better or worse. But I think too, as an artist, it polishes you and pushes you to sort of be the best version you can be. And it tells you when to pivot, when to listen, when to lay low, when to get back up. It builds a muscle that in any field really, that I don't know how that would be created elsewhere. And I think it serves its purpose. And don't get me wrong, I love other places, but it's definitely pushed me to be who I am.
So ballroom dance, that's again, I believe it really got its big push after Dancing with the Stars, that people more and more look into ballroom dancing. And now with all the other things that are out there and everything, it's such a popular genre and everyone wants to learn it, right? It
Yeah,
sounds like.
which I love to because I think, I've grown up in the dance world in a way that's quite privileged, and not everybody has like even knows about those worlds or has access to that level of training. And I was just like super lucky in many ways. The teachers I came in contact with as a child. But what I love about ballroom dance is like anybody can participate in the art form at any age, any time, hopefully any location. And I think that's like what dance should be. That's the best thing of dance is that it's inclusive and it's celebratory and it's like there's so many initiatives right now too, that like dances health and mind, body, and spirit. Like, I think that's, it's for better or worse, it's like it could be the club. I'm not saying it's the club, but it's like bodies are meant to dance and move. It's not a new tradition culturally. And I think
Yeah.
if that's how people are like accessing it, experience it, or like they see someone on TV and they go, oh my gosh, that could be me. Or that's my friend, or that's my grandmother, or like, hey, we dance like that in the kitchen. I think all of that visibility for dance is so valuable and beautiful.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about The Apprentice really quickly.
Sure. So, Rhythm or Smooth, set in present day New York City, is about a deflated, uh, down on his out champion. Down on his out. Oh my gosh, can I go again?
I'll
Can I
edit
go
that. Don't
again,
worry.
Neil?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, too many interviews today, but like this is like the most fun. Okay, we're back. So
That's cool.
Rhythm or Smooth, set in present day New York City, is about like two classes structures coming together that need each other to basically win a championship. And ultimately, they realize that the win is their relationship of dancing together and not necessarily what's perceived as a prize. You have an affluent, well to do Upper East Side African American young woman who wants to buy her way into a championship and sort of befriends down on his out luck champion who's been working as an escort at the society balls where they meet. So you really have like appetite and class clashing and coming into contact with one another as they most often do in New York City every second of every day. But I think what the wonderful message of the film too is that we all need each other. All sides need each other. Art needs all of the other patrons it can have, but that the win of it all is dancing together, regardless of where you come from.
Now, you as a former ballerina, were you interested in ballroom dance as well?
I had the opportunity to sort of like meet ballroom first through television, and spectacle and through movies um, like Strictly Ballroom. And I love Baz Luhrmann's aesthetic. And I think there's such an appetite and competitiveness that's like visually on display and like in the structure of how people participate in it and like the spectacle of it. That was like so appealing because ballet is really, there's so much competition as well, but it's in ballet, you're not trying to show the effort necessarily. You're sort of trying to be quite the opposite in a most miraculous way. And I celebrate that as well. But yeah, the loudness of it was like really appealing. It's always been appealing. It's like I didn't grow up in sequins, but I like sequins. So it's like
I got it.
I grew up in tutus, so the sequins are always calling, I would say.
So, where is the best place people can see this film?
That's a great question. We're hoping to have it out in the next 3 months, and we're happy to update you on like where that's going to be specifically.
Okay, so you're going to do the film festival route, or are you going straight?
We're gonna do a little bit of it. We're gonna do a little bit of it. But yeah, we're looking to kind of share it with as many people as possible. So that's a conversation is like, what's the best vehicle to really share it with a mainstream audience?
Got it. That's the biggest challenge as an independent filmmaker. Where to go, where to deal with it. I'm learning more and more about this each and every day. And it's like every struggle as me as a podcaster. How do I get it out as an independent anywhere I can, anywhere I want? How do I get more syndication? How to get more and more people to see it? Same
Yeah,
deal.
absolutely. And like
Same.
there's so many different like mediums right now too, where you can like share what you're doing to then get people to watch like a longer form content. I mean, my experience with the festival circuit too is that, different places like different projects of mine. So you're kind of like the energy and the response is sort of telling you in some ways like where to place it, where to go with it. So that's my experience and success with the festivals is kind of listening to that instead of like deciding that you think it's going to be, you know, these five or these 12 or these 25, that sometimes it's just about like one really special festival that illuminates, understands it, appreciates it, and that can launch you and the project. And that's like a really great feeling too, because there's relationships that are built with those producing teams I mean, they work so hard to bring those festivals and those filmmakers forth. So I appreciate them.
So, Bretton, where's the best place people can find information now on the film and all the different things? Where can they go?
So they can follow me. They don't have to follow me, but they can find me on Instagram at Bretton Tyner-Bryan. And all of our updates are going to be coming there for Rhythm or Smooth.
All right, sounds good. Thanks again.
Pleasure. Thanks, Neil.
You're welcome. You're listening and watching The Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment. We're back to The Neil Haley Show, and my guest today is Rowan Haber. He is a feature documentary, We Are Pat. It's a nationwide theatrical release and a special event comedy tour. Rowan, thanks for stopping by. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Now, I find this fascinating because I remember SNL, like all of us, when we bring it up and remember that the skit and all those different things. What made you want to do a documentary on this?
Yeah, Pat is something that like weirdly, when you're a kid and these things like stick in your mind and you don't really get to pick what you're obsessed with or what sticks in your mind. Pat was that for me. And I kind of forgot about Pat for like 25 years. And then I was having a discussion one night with friends at dinner about like problematic 90s faves that should never be remade. And Pat just like immediately came to mind, and I blurted out that I wanted to remake It's Pat. And so I went back home, rewatched the movie, and I thought it was like funnier than ever, although things, for me had changed because I had come out as trans. And so I was like, oh wow, this is like laughing at me, but I still think it's funny. So what is that tension, And so that's why I went down on this journey.
And then once you started, you knew there's a lot of work to be done, right?
Yes, for sure. Yes.
And how long does this documentary take to make?
Yeah, in total, about 5 years from like,
Wow.
initially coming up with the idea to premiering it.
Okay, so what did you discover without giving it all away? Because people definitely need to see this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a lot. I think very early on we got Julia Sweeney on board who played Pat in the SNL sketches. So she kind of really like revealed a lot about her own like reasons for making Pat, how Pat sort of came to be, which was kind of like a fluke. Like she was at the Groundlings and she just like randomly found a Western shirt and these khaki pants and like a wig and just started impersonating a coworker of hers. And that's kind of how Pat the character came to be. And then it was just one of the sketches that she was doing. And she was on, let's see, the first SNL sketch that she ever did as Pat was with Roseanne Barr, and Roseanne like loved Pat. And the last joke that she made in that sketch was, someone was like, "Oh, are you even a man or a woman?" And that's what the audience went crazy over was like that specific piece about Pat. And so that's kind of like how Pat's popularity just took off. And that's why the entire like sort of, joke of Pat was about gender. So that was like a big takeaway that I didn't know about sort of like the beginning of Pat, I would say.
And at that time period, you watching it, then thinking about specifically enough everyone else watching this, the feedback then, that's the big thing, right? That talk about making this documentary is what was the feedback? How did people feel that might felt like Pat? You
Yeah.
understand? And how did that make everyone having a character, anything in comedy sometimes goes and crosses the line. We all know that in
Yeah.
certain ways. What did people think of this?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about Pat is that, a lot of people had really different opinions about Pat. Like even within sort of like the trans and queer and gender nonconforming community in the film, like a lot, you'll see a lot of folks like loved Pat. A lot of folks were scared of Pat. Pat in a way is like a cautionary tale because it's like people are always just obsessed. The only thing they want to know about Pat is what gender they are. They're not, they don't want to know like you know, pretty much anything else. And Pat is always being put in these situations where it's like the sole point of the situation is for Pat to say, like, I am a man or a woman. And so I think in that way, like for a lot of people, the moral of the story was if you don't conform to one gender or the other, like your life is, you're not going to have any friends. People are going to think that you're weird. They're always going to be asking you questions. They're always going to be trying to figure out what gender you are. So I think in that way, like Pat, for some people, was a cautionary tale. For me, I had like a really warm feeling towards Pat. I just thought Pat was really funny. So I think the takeaways for for everybody were pretty different on Pat. Like a lot of people just loved Pat. A lot of people thought the joke was on the people around Pat who were so fixated on understanding Pat's gender. So, the film really goes into it, but there's not one opinion about Pat, which is why I think Pat's like an interesting character. Everybody has an opinion.
So how did SNL kind of, you said how it was introduced in so many ways, but what did SNL think of this and what the feedback would be?
On the documentary.
Not the documentary, but basically going back into the SNL days
Yeah.
when Pat was released and stuff.
Right. Like
Yeah.
what was their
Yeah,
feedback on Pat?
feedback outside of the once the characters out there and you have everyone seeing this for the first
Yeah.
time in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's gonna be really interesting and fascinating watching the documentary, seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, people loved Pat. Pat was a phenomenon. I think, partially like the 90s were one of the golden eras of SNL. Also it was during the days of syndicated television, so it was like every Saturday, 13 million people would tune in to watch SNL. And so 13 million people across the country were being shown Pat, right? And so Pat, the sketch lasted across 4 years and through one major motion picture, a draft of which was even written by Quentin Tarantino. So it's like Pat was really popular at the time. Like the feedback on Pat, people were obsessed with Pat. Like to this day, you can go find a ton of Pat merch,
Oh,
out in the
really?
world. Yeah, people would dress up as Pat for Halloween. So back in the day, Pat was huge. No, and the feedback was good.
Why do you think the character kind of disappeared off this now?
Well, Julia left SNL, at that time. She had a battle with cancer and her brother
Oh,
died of cancer. So there were sort of some personal reasons that she left. So, I think that was why. And also, Pat had a really long, good run. 4 years is like a great amount of time for a sketch.
oh, really?
Um,
I didn't know that. Okay, so
yeah.
what the
Yeah.
average sketch only run that certain amount of time usually?
Well, it just depends on how popular it is. And I think 4 years is a good run. So yeah, so Pat, yeah, left SNL, Julia made the movie, and then her brother got cancer, and then she got cancer. So it was definitely like yeah, it's
Oh,
really awful.
wow.
So it's kind of like life circumstances, I think, ended Pat, more so than Pat themselves. But the movie also flopped. So It's Pat the movie came out, it was like a big flop. And then I think Julia was like, I'm done with Pat. So
Got it. And
yeah.
why do you think the film flopped?
I think some people say that it's because like it, Pat is just one joke, right? Are you a man or woman? And then the film tried to like do too much in a way, like tried to sort of expand Pat's story. But I also happen to know the film flopped. I mean, it wasn't like there was not a big marketing budget put behind it. It was only released in like 20 theaters, and at the time, Pat, the movie was with Disney. The leadership at Disney had changed, so the people who had been championing Pat before had left, and so suddenly there was new leadership, and they were like, "What is this movie?" They weren't championing it in the same way. So I don't actually think it was also like given sort of the fair release that it would have had, because I actually think to me, It's Pat the movie is really funny and is actually pretty good. So, and like one of my desires is that it comes back kind of as like Rocky Horror Picture Show, and we like throw nuts and bananas at the screen rather than burnt toast. So it's like, I don't know. I think the movie sort of flopped for different reasons, but I do think it's a good movie.
Well, usually when you put something that's a skit as a movie, it's a little harder to hit really well. So there's
100%.
another reason. But you
Yep.
have the opportunity. So through all the research, what shocked you the most after going and filming all this, interviewing all these people, doing all these things that shocked you the most about this doc?
Yeah, I think not exactly shocking, but like a fun tidbit is, I mean, how many like famous people were involved in Pat and loved Pat? Like Kurt Cobain loved Pat.
Oh,
Nirvana, yeah, Nirvana was like one of the musical acts on SNL and they loved Pat. Um, like I said, Quentin Tarantino wrote a draft of It's Pat the movie. I thought that was really fun. Um, Pat had a lot of fans, like if you look at those original Pat sketches, like some of the great actors of the day were in those sketches, like Harvey Keitel and Christopher Walken and Catherine O'Hara. And like, so I think that was like really fun, is sort of like that 90s, cult feeling about Pat. Yeah, and I think just how many people related to Pat and kind of like loved that character, I think was more of some of the discovery that I thought was really fun.
What was the most fun thing about filming the documentary?
Ooh. I would say there was one day where we dressed a whole bunch of people up as Pat and we had them like running through the streets of Los Angeles. And that was super fun because literally cars would stop and like honk and be like, it's a bunch of Pats. And it was crazy to see like people still know the character, you know? I mean, certainly like the younger generation isn't really aware of the character. Hopefully they will be more through this film, but like folks who are, you know, who lived through the 90s absolutely were remembered and were just thought it was hilarious that there were like Pats unleashed on the city of Los Angeles.
As a filmmaker, what do you hope is the final result of this documentary?
Yeah, I really hope that it like shows people that you can have a conversation with someone even if you're worried that you don't agree on something. Like with Julia, I think it was like she very easily could have said, "I'm not going to talk to you. I think you're trying to cancel me." Like she could have assumed that we were there to cancel this character that like, you know, in certain ways is transphobic, in certain ways is problematic, but also is weirdly like a non-binary icon and also is very prescient and also is very funny. But instead, you know, she decided that she would have the conversation and like, you know, I wanted to have a conversation with her and we both came to the table really open and just like, you know, talked about it together. And I feel like maybe that in a way could be a model of how to have conversations like across difference and, you know, just lower the temperature on some of these things. And I feel like, you know, I wish we could do that more just politically right now is like have conversations, not try to cancel each other,
Yeah.
not try to like hate each other.
Why
Maybe
do
we
we
can
do
be
that? And we do it
opposite.
on both
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Why? I don't get it. I know it's honestly for control. My
Yeah.
opinion is
Yeah.
that the big people want everyone to fight so that they can get away with whatever they want to get away with. That
Yes.
honestly is, well, if you watch, TV and films, it's art and it's the art imitates life. And so if we are so at each other's throats and don't feel like we can have a conversation regardless of what our political party or stance is and to understand the other people's side, then we're never ever going to feel we're never going to grow as a society.
Yep, exactly. 100%.
And that's the biggest mistake. It's like, okay, somebody's different. Well, that's
Yep.
okay.
Yeah,
But let's
exactly.
not have hatred towards that difference. And let's also, on the other side, if someone who hates that person, they shouldn't have hate towards somebody else because of that. Because hate
Yeah.
just breeds war, which breeds
Yep.
what we're going through right now. And
Literally.
history repeats itself. And we're
Yep.
totally going through that cycle again. And bringing
Yep.
out a film like this will bring this conversation out to people. I
Yep.
remember Pat, but I never thought of Pat as what you're saying now, Rowan. That's the difference, right? I
Yeah.
mean, think about it. When we were watching Pat, we're just like, okay, what are we watching?
Yeah.
I don't know what year was SNL with Pat? What years?
90 to 94.
So that was at a time in my life when I was in my 20s that I don't know if I just laughed and the character and said, okay, she or he, whatever, at that
Yeah.
time looked like that. And that's all I thought about and said, oh, this is hilarious. I
Yeah.
know people like this, but never in a million years to think about that's what it was, you
Totally.
know?
Totally. Yep.
And
Yep.
this is going to open up a conversation. And that's what you want a lot with
Exactly.
this.
That's
And
exactly it.
congratulations, Tribeca. You got
Yeah.
to feel enthused. Also, a chance for an Academy Award. I mean, you never thought of these things when you got this documentary started, did you?
No, no. I mean, I just wanted people to see it, so I'm very pleased at how well it's done. Yeah.
And that's what I love as a journalist is I get to interview all walks of life,
Yep.
and I have friendships with people all walks of life, and I love to hear their stories. And I
Yeah.
think I see your passion and what you want to accomplish with this. But with Tribeca, what is with this run, what do you hope next? What's next for Pat after that?
Yeah, so I mean, we're really excited. We're gonna be digitally releasing, you know, in the end of June, like on Amazon, Apple TV, Direct TV. Canopy, and then later in the summer we will be streaming. So I can't say where yet, but that's super exciting. So I just hope that, people, I really just hope that people watch it. Like I really want people to go watch the film. We're in theaters right now. Like go see the film, follow us on social media, tell your friends. I just want people to see it. That's my main goal with the
So
film.
how can people find out and see the film nationwide? Where that's
Yeah, so if you go to our website, it's wearepat.com, or our Instagram is wearepat.doc, DOC, then you'll see basically we have like a list of like the cities that we're playing in, and then like I said, we're releasing on demand on June 23rd. And then we will be streaming in August. So those are ways that you can see
and you
it.
can't wait to announce where you're streaming in August.
Yeah, 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 we're excited.
I'm sure you are. And this is really a very good to make you want to go back and watch that. And how many people after having this conversation are going on YouTube to go find the skits and all that stuff? So you're bringing Pat back in so many ways.
Trying to.
You're doing it, no doubt. And then the more it gets out there for sure. And your website for people again?
Yeah, it's rowanhaber.com. That's my personal website. And then the website for the film is wearepat.com.
And the last question I wanted to ask is, what did you learn from making this film compared to all the other films you've been involved in?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I learned that I really love comedy, and it's really influenced kind of like the next couple films that I'm gonna make, which I think comedy is like a really beautiful way into discussing hard things, complicated things, and it just opens audiences up. So my next film is about the relationship between New Yorkers and rats, which is from a comedic perspective as well. So I think I just learned that I like comedy.
So you're already thinking about your next project.
Yep.
That's a filmmaker, and I
Yep.
appreciate it. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Neil. Great questions. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment. We're back to the Neil Haley Show, and this is really an interesting topic. Advanced practice providers share how they are helping patients navigate complex cancer care. This is amazing, and I could jump into this specifically. A little bit of background: the oncology care landscape is evolving rapidly, with new treatments, technologies, and approaches emerging every year. While these advancements are improving patient outcomes, they're also introducing new complexities for healthcare providers. So, our guest today, and this is a fantastic conversation, is Donna Catamero, and also we have with us today Rebecca Moran. Guys, thanks for stopping by. How are you?
Thank you. And thank you for having us today. I just want to start out by saying we both have worked closely with Johnson and Johnson to be able to discuss the evolving cancer care landscape and the role that advanced practice providers play in this field.
Well, I'm always interested in learning about how we can improve healthcare and make it better. Because the bottom line is we have to care about our health, and especially working with cancer patients. Can you walk us through your roles as advanced practice providers and what supporting patients looks like day to day?
So I'll jump in first, and then I'll hand it over to Rebecca. So I'm a nurse practitioner, which is part of that advanced practice providers landscape, or APPs. And I hold an advanced degree in nursing, so I'm able to treat and manage patients. I help support patients and manage side effects, coordinate care. And as we said, the treatment landscape is becoming more complex. We have targeted therapies, cellular therapies. I help guide patients through their treatment journey. And we know from research that care teams that incorporate advanced practice providers, patients have better outcomes.
No, 100%. That's for sure. Go ahead, Rebecca, with your answer.
Hey, and I'm a physician assistant. So typically I work in the hospital setting. So I get to support patients through many different phases of their cancer journey. So sometimes I see them at diagnosis, get to sit with them, discuss what's going on, what our next steps are, provide emotional support. Sometimes I see them when they have side effects or complications from their cancer or their treatment and kind of tell them what's going on. And sometimes I just get to see our patients when they're admitted for non-oncology things, just because we build such a strong relationship together because we see each other so much. So if I can provide any support or confidence in their care, I'd like to do that.
Donna, how do you help patients understand their options and make informed decisions amid rapid innovation in oncology?
So I am a very specialized nurse practitioner. So I specialize in one specific disease. It's a blood cancer, so multiple myeloma. So as an advanced practice provider, I need to stay informed so that I can be that bridge for my patients between this rapidly evolving clinical data and what it means for my patients. And as part of that, I'm part of this multidisciplinary team. I help shape patient treatment strategies. And as a nurse practitioner, I play a key role in helping patients understand their options and make them feel comfortable about their decisions. And many patients say that they feel more comfortable talking with their advanced practice providers, asking us questions compared to other team members.
See, Donna, that's the key thing is spending time with the patient. The more time we spend with the patient, better care happens, meaning they're going to take on whatever you recommend after you do the treatment so that they can continue to advance their care and improve their health. The biggest thing is, and we don't have time to have those patient discussions, we don't see that patient success rate. If it's like short 5 minutes, 10-minute conversation and you're gone, they don't know what to do after they leave. And I think that's just an important thing in giving them those, having that conversation with them. And Rebecca, and I think that's the biggest thing. Now, Rebecca, what are the biggest gaps in support for patients or care partners today?
I think just like what you said is education. I think that a lot of patients, especially in my demographic, they'll see that they had a family member that went through something really hard with cancer, and trying to educate them and let them know that not all cancer is created the same, it's
Right.
not all treated the same. So let me collect all of the information I need and talk to you about what treatment would look like and what side effects look like, because it could be completely different. So I just think that it's important that we educate our patients, spend time with them, like you said, and make sure that they understand. Because I'm completely support any of their decisions, but I want to make sure that they're informed decisions.
Right. And that's where the importance of where things have changed. 10 years ago, when you had cancer, there was not the research that we have today. There's not the technology that we had today. There's not the research of people that have gone through treatment for another 10 years that we had people that lost their life to cancer. And now we know what works and what doesn't work. It's a process because we constantly involved in our medicine. Do you agree with me, Rebecca?
Yes, I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. Yes.
Okay. Donna, what are your thoughts when I was saying that?
I think you hit the nail or the head on the nail on the head. Because when I first started my career in nursing, I cared for multiple myeloma patients. We had very, very few treatment options, and this was considered a terminal disease. Now in 2026, it is a chronic disease. We have a wealth of riches when we have so many treatment options that I can offer patients. So innovation. So
Yeah.
innovation has greatly improved outcomes for patients. And my role as a nurse practitioner is to bridge the gap between the pace of innovation, because we see such, again, rapidly changing landscape. And then how does that relate to patient delivery, patient care delivery? So we're seeing these novel therapies, and again, very novel cellular therapies, targeted therapies. We see them approved, but how do I, as a nurse practitioner, make sure that the right treatment gets to the right patient?
And that's where the resources come to the place. People don't understand it. We are in a rapid evolving in every field. You have medical advancements are going to happen all the time. And it's because we can speed up at a speed of light compared to 5 years ago. And people might not know this. It's because of AI. It's because the research, the ability to go and try new things and develop new things, it's unreal. It's absolutely a fantastic time. And then track research better, because when a human in a loop, it's a lot longer process, but being able to get there, then you know what outcomes work and what research works, and that helps with speed up of research and development, and then things get even better. So Rebecca, as someone newer to oncology, what challenges did you face early on, and how are you building confidence in navigating cancer care?
Just to hit on what we've been saying is treatment options are changing so quickly. It's like cancer is its own world. But which is great because it's great for our patients, improves outcomes. but it can be challenging, especially for a newer APP or advanced practice provider in this world. So I think with every patient, I just build confidence. I learn something new. I lean in with my mentors and people that are specialized because I'm more generalized and Donna's specialized. So there's a lot of things that I can learn from her along with the resources out there like appsmakeithappen.com.
Yeah. So Donna, what role do education and mentorship play in preparing the next generation of oncology APPs?
So, when I was a new nurse, I had some of the best mentors and they helped shape me. So now, now I have to pay it forward. And so I help the next generation of advanced practice providers. So I work closely with newer APPs such as Rebecca, and I help build their confidence, their clinical judgment, how to navigate like these complex cases and give confidence so that we can deliver high quality care. And being very involved in cancer research myself, I want to help educate because again, the data is coming out by the hour, and so we need to really be up to date on all these practice changes.
No doubt. Rebecca, what advice do you have for newer APPs balancing clinical knowledge with real world patient care?
Lean into the learning curve. As long as you're willing to learn and you want to put in the work, you'll be just fine. Find a great mentor like Donna. There's also great resources out there, which is what led me to work with Johnson and Johnson. So as a newer to oncology APP, they do have a new to oncology education module. That's really good. Provides a lot of information. You just have to be willing to learn.
So this question is for both Donna and Rebecca. Where should APPs or listeners go for additional information support? But that you can go ahead and tell us, Donna.
Okay, so Make It Happen is a campaign. It's an initiative with Johnson and Johnson. They developed a partnership with the Advanced Practitioner Society of Hematology and Oncology to help support advanced practice providers through education, resources, and awareness. And again, the website is appsmakeithappen.com.
Okay. It's just, I think the greatest thing that we need to tell our listeners out there when they hear the word cancer, it's not a death sentence, Donna, like we thought before. And that's where we have to get the care quickly. And that's the biggest mistake. Once you get a diagnosis, sometimes what happens is you give up in life instead of having those conversations with you guys to get the best care possible, right?
Right. It's a stigma that we have to stop looking at it as a death sentence, and it's a chronic disease, just like diabetes, high blood pressure. We can manage patients and they do well.
That's the tremendous thing that's happening. It's not what it was before. And I'm sure those conversations, Rebecca, you have with the patients, same thing, right? Where they're talking about, well, my mother or my grandmother went through this stuff, and you're like, no, this is not what you're going to have to deal with, potentially.
Exactly. Treatment options have changed and how we can deal with side effects has changed. So there's a lot that we can offer. We just need to have the opportunity to be able to explain that.
All right. Best place again, Donna.
Yes. appsmakeithappen.com.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks again.
Thank you.
You're listening and watching The Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the special simulcast, The Neil Haley Show on the Gilda podcast with our host, Dr. Gilda Carle. Hi, Dr. Gilda.
Neil, I think I have heard everything. This one takes the cake. Would you, as a voter, anybody out there, would you vote for a murderer? They did. Progressive-backed candidate convicted in man's killing wins city council election. Now, I have not seen, I tried to open it up. I do not know. Maybe our wonderful interactive audience can tell me where this happened. And the newly elected city councilwoman, she's a councilwoman murderer. She told local news, quote, she is trying to put her past behind her. And she was voted in. She was voted in. I have seen this craziness occur with cheating men. I couldn't understand it when I first saw it. Different Men, I have this in my book, Real Men Don't Go Woke. I specified different ones, and I said, but he is a no.